Breaking news out of China this morning. The White House has confirmed that 3 Americans were released from detention. Their names, Mark Sweeting, Kai Li, and John Wang, have been held for many, many years. CBS News reports during the small is traveling with President Biden was in Nantucket this morning. Story, what can you tell us about the prisoner exchange?
Yeah, well, this exchange happens for a swap of unidentified Chinese nationals. We know that the longest U.S. prisoner serving time in China happened back in 2012. So these talks apparently have been ongoing with this administration and the People's Republic of China. We're told that the president even communicated the swift release of these Americans during his conversation with President Xi at APEC just this month. We are told that the longest serving, so his name is Swider. He's been serving since 2012.
Oh, viewers, hello.
No guidance yet on these Americans were returned back to the United States, but they had the release warrant.
All right, Dorian, let me ask you about this ceasefire deal that is happening now between Israel and Lebanon. How big of a win is this deal for President Biden and the legacy he's leaving behind next month?
Well, it flies in the face of the mockery of the Trump campaign, a pretty effective campaign on the trail about Biden not being able to solve these international conflicts. The Trump campaign has said that the Biden administration is one of chaos when it comes to foreign relations. So this is a small win. The president also, though, communicated that he still will work for a ceasefire deal in Gaza. This agreement, of course, doesn't relate to that, but he says that he's working with Egypt, he's working with Qatar, he's going to work with Israel and others for a ceasefire deal there as well. Now, we know that the terms of this agreement will include U.S. troops there to help facilitate it, but the president underscored that he will not be sending U.S. troops to an active conflict zone. He is again saying that this is just to facilitate the terms of this ceasefire deal.
So he is still hopeful, even in the waning days of his administration, Torian, that he can secure a ceasefire deal between the Israelis and Hamas in Gaza.
And it's been a big push point for folks on the left. Progressives have long called for a ceasefire deal, and this is something that the Biden administration has communicated, that while he's also looking to end the conflict, he's also hoping for a return of the Israeli prisoners taken by Hamas during October 7th attack. So that is the Israeli prisoners taken by Hamas during October 7th attack. So that is the goal here as he looks to exit the office to secure this deal and hopefully end the conflict.
What if I told you that there's no such thing as no internet connection, and that unlimited data actually doesn't cost more than 2 cinnamon lattes at Starbucks?
This pocket-sized Wi-Fi powerhouse was designed by 2 former cable company techs in Atlanta who've seen all the dirty tricks. Now they're flipping the script, helping people save thousands on internet costs every year. And believe me, the big providers are not happy about this. They're sweating trying to keep this out of your hands. Joseph and Mark used to work inside the industry, watching telecoms pull off their scamming moves. Prices jacked up 5.8% a year, sneaky data.
Well, let's take a look at the global headlines now. China has
Personally, I am much more intentional.
Welcome back. It's 12:13. Rescuers in Ukraine are searching for survivors of a deadly Russian drone strike. At least 2 are believed dead and many more were injured in this attack. These strikes illustrate another dangerous escalation in the Ukraine war. Greg Alcott has more from London.
After more than 1,000 days of fighting, the war in Ukraine continues to escalate. Russia confirmed on Friday it fired a new experimental intermediate range ballistic missile, or IRBM, at Ukraine. In response to Kyiv's use of American and British supplied long-range missiles inside Russia. And Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning the missile moves so fast that American air defense systems are powerless to stop it.
Противодействие missiles attack targets at a speed of Mach 10. The anti-missile defenses created by the Americans in Europe do not intercept such missiles.
The new missile is named Oreshnik, Russian for hazelnut tree. It's similar in many ways to an ICBM, meant to carry multiple nuclear warheads. And while it has a shorter range, the close proximity of Russia and Ukraine means it can still have a big impact on the battlefield.
You're talking about a missile with a range way beyond any of that seen in this conflict so far, and possibly the first ever use in combat of an IRBM, signaling to the Ukrainians, we've got stuff that outranges you.
Putin says the war has now taken on, quote, a global nature, but the Pentagon insists, while it's not looking for a fight with Moscow, military aid will continue regardless of the new missile threat.
We've seen this type of, dangerous, reckless rhetoric before from President Putin. What we're focused on is continuing to support Ukraine with what it needs.
NATO and Ukrainian officials will hold an emergency meeting next Tuesday to discuss the threat posed by this new missile. In London, Greg Alcott, Fox 32 Chicago, Sylvia, back to you.
Эта ракета, она не является межконтинентальной. Соответственно, это ракета средней дальности. И поэтому Российская Федерация не имеет обязательства делать нотификацию насчет этого пуска. Но существует Российский национальный центр по уменьшению ядерной опасности, НЦУ-ЯО, который работает в автоматическом режиме и поддерживает постоянную связь с такой же системой, которая в США. И вот в явочном автоматическом режиме по этой системе было отправлено предупреждение за 30 минут до пуска. Но мы видим, что уходящая администрация предпочитает идти дальше по пути эскалации. И делает это достаточно безрассудно эскалация. Что касается открытости к диалогу, то даже во вчерашнем заявлении президент акцентировал его готовность к любым контактам. И с целью деэскалации, и с целью избежания дальнейшей эскалации, и с целью выхода на мирную траекторию. Каких-либо контактов с действующей администрацией не было. Но, с другой стороны, вчерашнее заявление было весьма и весьма исчерпывающим. Понятно, логично. И поэтому мы не сомневаемся, что действующие администрации в Вашингтоне имели возможность ознакомиться с этим заявлением и понять. Но главный месседж это то, что безрассудные решения и действия западных стран, которые производят ракеты, поставляют их на Украину и впоследствии принимают участие в проведении ударов по российской территории, не могут остаться без реакции российской стороны. Возможности российская сторона четко продемонстрировала и контуры дальнейших.
No one believed it at first, but now everyone wants one. A customer returned his knife because he missed our buy two, get two free deal.
We are now learning that Ukraine has successfully hit ammunition to go deep inside Russia using 8 long-range U.S. missiles. That is what 2 defense U.S. officials are telling our Orrin Lieberman tonight. Russia claims the Ukrainian attack did not cause damage. The U.S. says that is false. The Ukraine also reportedly used British-made Storm Shadow missiles for the first time today inside Russia as well. Here's that. Right there in that video. See the background. Exactly the type of sound and blast you would expect to hear from those Storm Shadow missiles. It comes as Russia is now massively
раз подчеркивал президент Путин,
As President Putin has repeatedly stressed, missile strikes deep inside Russian territory will change the nature of the conflict, its very essence, and be a radical escalation. After all, the USA, England, and France will be directly entering a war with Russia, with all the ensuing consequences for their own territories.
This comes as a number of American allies are now accusing Russia of sabotaging crucial fiber optic internet cables in the Baltic Sea. The cables connecting Sweden to Lithuania and Germany to Finland were cut on Sunday and Monday. And we are now learning that around the time that this happened, that a Chinese ship sailing from Russia was in that area. And Peyton Walsh is out front tonight in Kyiv.
Ukrainian special forces fighting up close, taking prisoners. Rare footage of them still inside Russia's Kursk region, where British Storm Shadow missiles were claimed to have hit Wednesday. These fragments found by locals. Just hours earlier, American-supplied Attackams missiles also plowed into Russia, marking the start of new escalation. Yet it was also in Kiev that fear grew. The US Embassy closing here for the first time since the invasion, citing a threat of air attack.
It's a reflection of the heightened tension here felt in the capital Kiev. It's been under regular bombardment for over 2 months, but other European allied embassies are also limiting their function today. Perhaps a sense across NATO here that we're entering a new chapter of this conflict.
As Kiev braced for another sleepless night of sirens, the bereaved planted flags into this sea of loss in central Kiev. Anya's father died of his injuries 3 weeks ago, after 5 months in a coma. She is raw from both the talk of peace and the fear of sirens.
Так страшно, як сьогодні тут. Я вам скажу чесно, мені сьогодні під кожну другу ходили укриття, було дійсно дуже страшно. Не хочеться якось завдавати шкоди нашій країні. Хочеться просто, щоб все було як було раніше, але без російського миру, без всього цього. Ну, тобто,
But it's never over in Kiev. The air raids intensified in the past 2 months, and the weekends, seen here, the worst for a while. So the heightened anxiety behind several NATO embassies reducing operations this day sparks Ukrainian officials to plead that they hold their nerve and deride this piece of Russian misinformation online, detailed and fake warning of wide-scale attacks. This situation should be interpreted, he says, as Russia's attempt to use any elements of psychological influence. They have one instrument, which is to scare. This has always been a classic element of Russian politics, so I'd like our partners to be more careful as to the information coming from Russia.
What we saw today with that very explicit, specific US embassy closure and warning is a reflection, I think, of the fear of escalation around Ukraine. The misinformation the Russians are blamed for by Ukrainian officials, well, it was a fake, a pretty bad fake, frankly. Is that the only thing that caused this US embassy warning? I doubt it, personally, and I think it feeds into a fear here, let's say, of a new chapter. US-made, UK-made missiles being fired by Ukraine into Russia. That's something that Vladimir Putin is probably going to want to respond to, and certainly Kiev is on edge because of that.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. And I want to go out front now to Evelyn Farkas, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia and Ukraine, along with the retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, former Commanding General of the U.S. Army in Europe. So, Evelyn, these missiles that we heard Storm Shadows right in that audio clip, but also now U.S. Attackams being used deep inside Russia on that ammo depot, as we understand the most recent news. How does this tangibly change things? Does it tangibly accomplish anything right now for Ukraine?
well, I think, Aaron, it puts pressure on the Russian government because the more of these ammunition depots that the Ukrainians can take out, that obviously means that they have less munitions, which means their time is shorter. The other thing is that it disrupts their logistics operations, and that also provides in the short term an advantage to the Ukrainians. So it may not be a deal changer just to take out 1 or 2 ammunition depots, but it's certainly disruptive on the battlefield right now in the short term.
General Hodges in Russia State TV talking about World War III. Putin making comments about nuclear weapons, and now they're sort of mass producing these mobile nuclear resistant bomb shelters, right, that we have video of. What do you see here? What do you think such a thing is about?
Well, I think this is classic Kremlin scaremongering. I mean, I have to give them credit for the new thing of the new bunkers that they'll be selling. The Russians know that Washington and Berlin and London and other capitals react to this, that we're vulnerable to this scaremongering. But if you think about it, why would Russia use a nuclear weapon? I mean, there is no benefit to Russia to use a nuclear weapon. None. Their benefit comes from the way we deter ourselves out of fear that they might use a nuclear weapon. China, India have both told Russia, do not use a nuclear weapon. The United States has said you will suffer catastrophic consequences if you use a nuclear weapon. So there's no benefit on the ground or strategically for Russia. So, of course, you take it serious because they have thousands. They don't care how many people they kill, including their own. But there are only downsides for Russia if they actually do it.
And when it comes to at least some sort of a pressure campaign appears to be on Europe to turn on this war, if not just simply a more broader escalation of Putin making it clear, that he wants to extend Russian dominance. I mentioned earlier those two undersea cables that were mysteriously cut. The German defense minister says that nobody believes they were accidentally severed. And then you had that Chinese ship, apparently a Russian captain, which was seen in the area around the time that this occurred. What do you think happened?
Well, it seems likely, Aaron, that the Chinese ship did this at the behest of the Russian government. Whether the Chinese government was involved or not, I can't say. But this is a continuation. I just came back from Ukraine just before our election. In the fall and in the summer, Russia was conducting sabotage operations all over Europe. The German intelligence agency heads were warning that the Russians were conducting these operations, that Russia was getting ready for some sort of operation potentially against NATO allies. So they were raising the sirens. We weren't paying that much attention to it. So the sabotage operations are part of this overall campaign to intimidate.
General Hodges.
Yes.
Oh, about the cables. Do you think that was Putin?
I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. The Russians are at war with us, even if we don't think of ourselves being at war with them in the traditional sense. We used to use this phrase hybrid war, which is really unhelpful and unuseful. The Russians are at war with us, whether it's disinformation, missiles flying through Polish airspace, Latvian airspace, Romanian airspace, sabotage. I'm glad my friend Evelyn used the word sabotage. That's what's going on all over Europe. They're pushing us to find out where our limits are. So until we finally change our mindset and acknowledge that the Russians are at war, not armed attacks or not Article 5 stuff, but they are at war, until we inflict some kind of pain on them, their behavior is never going to change. And so we have to get serious about economic sanctions and helping Ukraine defeat Russia.
We'll see what happens here, of course, at least what the incoming president has indicated, right, is a negotiated settlement, possible end to all those sanctions, and hopefully about face and all of this, but let's see. All right, thank you both very much. I appreciate it. All right, just to Nick's point, man, not the only
Russia is advancing at its fastest pace in 2 years, according to an assessment from the Institute for the Study of War. Moscow is firing swarms of drones daily, as well as artillery and missiles. But it was Russia's launch of a new kind of missile last week that got NATO's attention. Ukrainian intelligence clocked it flying 11 times the speed of sound. Russia has the momentum as the holiday season in Kyiv begins.
Oh my God! Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas.
This charity gives psychological support to children whose parents were killed in battle or had their homes destroyed by making cupcakes, writing letters to soldiers, and tying bracelets.
This is so nice.
And crafting ornaments in Ukraine's national colors.
I will put this on our tree at home.
Down to the American flag on the table, their message couldn't be clearer. Please don't abandon us. How important for Ukraine is that American support?
Дуже сподіваємось на підтримку.
We hope a lot for U.S. support to finally bring us victory, says Oksana Sliapova. Those fears that American support is dwindling, coming after President-elect Trump repeatedly criticized current aid levels. Kirillo's father is missing in action. How much does your son understand about what happened to his father?
Він знає, що не зник.
He knows that his dad has disappeared, but every night he hangs up the keys and hopes he'll come home, says Tatiana. She's lost her faith in the war.
Мені здається, нас все.
I think we're going to lose, she says, and we will be taken over by Russia. Ukrainians have held strong for more than 1,000 days, but with Russian advances and U.S. policy in transition, stress is showing. And it is not that Ukraine is sitting on its hands in any way. President Zelensky is saying that every Russian attack must be responded to. Great.
Richard, thank you for highlighting that one. Richard Ford, correspondent, what you think?
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.
Out front now, retired Army Major General James Spider Marks and Joe Doherty, CNN contributor and former Moscow bureau chief for CNN. It's good to see you both tonight. Spider, we just heard in Fred's report there, Russia advanced on nearly all front lines. The Biden administration now calling on Ukraine to dramatically lower the recruitment age for Ukrainian soldiers from 25 to 18. General, is that enough to turn this around?
No, it's not. I think from the outset, this administration really didn't have a clear strategy in terms of what they wanted to try to achieve as a desired end step, even if that was in the step with a larger strategic objective. And so what you see right now is the administration is on its way up. Ukraine, which has done incredibly well against the Russians, and clearly the West has not lost. Ukraine has not lost. This is a narrative that we're going to see more of coming out of Moscow. But what we see now is, I hate to use the term stalemate, but what we see is a very well-defined tactical battle between two combatants. And clearly Russia has the law of large numbers. They've got the manpower, they've got the capability to keep piling on. But yet bear in mind, Moscow has lost close to 600,000 young men in this fight. So this has been an incredibly costly victory. Maybe the definition of it.
So, what are you gonna ask the wizard for, Pixel? Well, I'm not sure he's such a... Oh, I want him to give me all the magical AI stuff he's given you. But the wizard didn't give me like how you come with Gemini Live to have free-flowing conversations about almost anything. I didn't get that from the wizard or Pixel Studio. The wizard is and I...
This is easily one of my favorite stories of all time, and it is the epitome of it's not stupid if it works. Today we're talking about Operation Beaver Drop. That time that a bunch of World War II veterans who worked for the Idaho Fish and Game Department got assigned the task of relocating a bunch of beavers to a different habitat. And they decided that the cheapest, safest, most cost-effective way to go about that was to strap them to parachutes and throw them out of a plane. We're going to get into it right after this ad, because I got bills. This video is brought to you by Conflict of Nations, a free online PvP military strategy game. It is based on a World War III type scenario where you get to pick your own country, or you can pick a state inside of the United States, because it's really the only way to make it fair for everybody else. Otherwise, America would be the instant win. Personally, I always start out as playing Iowa for obvious reasons, and my first order of business every single time is attacking Minnesota and turning Minnesota into Upper Iowa. They can't win a Super Bowl, and they're not going to win this battle. It's an easy W. But you don't have to attack. Remember, this is strategy. Diplomatic form of alliance with another nation to work together. I mean, you could. I'm not going to. I'm going to build up my army with tanks, jets, and nuclear submarines and turn my attention to Wisconsin. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The nuclear submarines are not super helpful in Midwestern warfare. That's the type of flexibility that Conflict of Nations allows. I've already taken over Minnesota, the land, and 10,000 lakes. I'm going to put a nuclear submarine in every one of those lakes. Anyways, if you want to give it a try, it's available on PC and mobile. And if you use my link and discount code down below, you're going to get 13,000 free gold and a free 1-month membership. Let's get back to it. All right, let's just take this from the top. Beavers, okay, one of my favorite animals. Why? Because I believe this is the animal that is most similar to humans. And I know what you're going to say. What about monkeys? What about apes? What about chimpanzees? They've all got thumbs and they poke shit with sticks and they eat bananas just like people do. That's fine. I understand they're very similar to people. But beavers are the most similar to humans in spirit. We are the only animals on the planet with the audacity to walk into a new ecosystem and be like, wow, I hate everything about this. I can A, migrate, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with option B and change everything about the world around me to make it suit me better and fuck everybody else. Now, do I enjoy the wetlands that beavers create with their dams? No, it's not my jam. However, game recognized game, because when a beaver sees running water and is like, it's no different than when it's July and it's hot out and I decide to turn my air conditioner on so I can domesticate the wind so that my balls aren't hot. Okay, it's about changing the environment around you rather than changing yourself. Okay, it's just that species-wide main character energy of I don't need to evolve anymore. I'm perfect how I am. I'm going to evolve the world around me to some shit that I like. So while I have a great childish respect for beavers, unfortunately for the beavers between the 15th, 16th, 17th, 1800s, their furs made dope-ass hats and they were really popular all across Europe. And the beavers were almost hunted to extinction for their pelts. Okay, because I'm sure you can imagine no beavers means no beaver dams means no wetlands, and no wetlands messes up the entire ecosystem. Okay, we can't have it. We gotta quit killing all the beavers. So the early 1900s, people realized this. They put protections on the beavers and we quit trying to prevent extinction and actually try to help encourage their population to build back. Okay, fast forward like 50 years, 1945, 1946, right around that. All the young men who've been off and fought World War II are coming back home. They got a bunch of money from fighting that war. They want to get a wife, build a house, have some kids, do people things. So they start expanding. And one of the places this happens is the town called Colorado. They start expanding. The town gets bigger and bigger. And eventually it displaces a bunch of beavers that have been out in the woods doing beaver things for hundreds of years. And these beavers get displaced and they go out and start fucking up a bunch of farming fields and irrigation systems. And I guess to the point where people in the town are just going to start shooting these beavers because they're messing everything. At this point, the Idaho Fish and Game Department, presumably also full of World War I and World War II veterans, steps in. Like, no, we're not gonna kill these beavers. These guys are awesome. They do a lot for the environment. We're gonna take them. We'll move them somewhere else where they can thrive.
We're not killing beavers. We're just relocating them.
So what's the point? We're gonna capture the beavers alive. We're gonna fly them as far as they can on roads, and then we're gonna pack them in our places miles and miles into the wilderness where they're not gonna be near any humans ever. And this is a complete disaster. Pretty much from the start. They capture the beavers alive, stick them in the cage, throw them on a truck, and try to drive hours and hours into the wilderness. This is really hard on them because beavers, they're a lot like me. I like to sit in my house in the air conditioning. They like to sit in their dams in the nice, damp, wet environment to keep cool. Beavers can't keep cool in the back of an air-conditioned truck in the mid-1940s. A lot of them are getting heat stroke, they're passing out, they're dying, they quit eating, or they get super agitated and they're very combative the entire time because they're hot. Then, if the beavers do survive the truck ride, they're all pissed off and angry, and now they're getting strapped to a horse or a mule, and that pisses off the horse because you've got a bunch of angry beavers all over it, and now the horse is pissed off, and the whole thing just, it doesn't work. So now the Fish and Game Department is like, well, what are we going to do? We got to save all these beavers, we want to get them up in the mountains so they can build their wetlands, it's going to help protect the town from flash flooding, it's going to prevent erosion, it's going to be great for the environment, we got to save these beavers. And one guy at the Fish and Game Department presumably is like, I mean, I got an idea, hear me out. We do have an awful lot of extra surplus parachutes from World War II laying around. We've got a plane. Okay, now to us in 2024, this sounds insane. But you gotta remember, this is 1948, okay? There's no OSHA, there's no, like, rules and regulations, and it's in Idaho, which is basically in the middle of nowhere at this point. Nobody's telling these guys what to do. A bunch of World War I, World War II veterans are, it's actually a pretty good idea, Jimmy. You know, it did work in Normandy, and the beavers aren't even gonna have Germans shipped at them, so I mean, pretty high likelihood they'll be fine. Let's try it.
What's that sound?
This holiday season, get on board with a special Disney Plus Black Friday offer.
I want one.
Watch these classic holiday favorites. These uninvited guests. Let's go. These besties.
This just feels right.
And so many more wonderful presents. Come home for the holidays to Disney Plus. And right now, save big with our special Black Friday offer. Just $2.99 a month for 1 year of the Disney Plus and Hulu bundle.
The excellence of driving a Buick is matched by the excellence of the dealership experience. We own the Buick.
Sign and Drive is here. Current eligible Buick or GMC Last Houston is ultra low mileage lease on this 2025 Encore GX Preferred for around $339 per month with zero due at signing.
So, first order of business, we got to develop a box that opens up once it hits the ground and gets the beavers to the ground safely. Pretty simple. It's basically two halves of a box with some holes drilled in it. They weave the rope through. Once the parachute lands, there's no more tension on the rope. The box just kind of falls open. The beavers get out and start doing beaver things. So, first we're going to test it before we put any innocent beavers at risk. We're going to take some empty weights, put them in the boxes, go up in the plane, drop them over the practice field, see how it goes. If it goes fine the first couple of times, okay, let's try it with one beaver, just for practice. So they go ahead, they pick an older male, he's at this breeding time, potentially dangerous to some of the younger males. If something does happen, he's lived out most of his life. They name him Geronimo because they're a bunch of meatheads and they're shit funny. So they put him in a crate, they take him up in the plane, drop him off over the practice field from 800 feet. Geronimo makes it and survives. Now, obviously, we're not going to put all our beavers in one basket because of one successful test run. We need multiple test runs to be certain this is going to work. Now that Geronimo is technically our lucky beaver, he's going to do it again. So he does. Geronimo does it again, and again, and again, and he keeps jumping, like more than 12 jumps this beaver makes. And by the end of it, the parks employees reported that Geronimo would actually run up to them and help them put him in the crate because he was ready to go again. Boom! This is animal abuse. And what if one of those boxes didn't open after the parachute landed? Boom! Okay, first of all, no it isn't. I've already been over the options. A, they could stay where they were at, get displaced, and end up getting shot by farmers for messing with their crops. B, they could spend days in transit on the truck and on the pack mule suffering and potentially dying. Or C, we could throw them in an airplane, fly them there in 15 minutes, and then throw them out the side. They can get their jump wings while they're doing their Band of Beavers reenactment. Okay? It's literally the best option. Okay, secondly, why are you worried about the box not opening? Like, did you think about this at all? It's a pine box, and that's a beaver. Okay, literally the only animal in the animal kingdom known for cutting down trees with its fucking face. I have the utmost confidence that if one of those boxes malfunctions, the beaver is going to figure it out. Right, so now they have their beaver delivery method. They develop a plan. They pick out a bunch of different locations all over this wooded area where they're going to be able to drop these beavers off in groups of 3 to 5, 2 males, 3 females, 1 male, 3 females, something like that. Enough that they're going to be able to rebuild their own little colonies, but they're going to be spread out enough that they're not going to be congregated. And it's going to be a humongous boost in the beaver population. This is what conservation is all about. So they get that all figured out. They have the plan in place. They know the delivery method. Now they just got to go catch all the beavers. So they go back to town, catch them all. There's 76 of them. They take them back. They start loading them in crates. And they're going to take them up to the plane and then throw them out the side. And here's the best part about the whole thing. They filmed it.
Into the drop pod. Nearly ready for that flight back into the mountain.
And this is where you can really start to see that this is a different time. I mean, look at this absolute Chad just manhandling this beaver into the crate with no safety equipment, no gloves, no iPro, nothing. If this were modern day, that guy would have leather protective gloves up to his elbow. He'd have safety glasses with a hard hat with a face shield with a leather apron. He'd have 2 dudes holding his hand while he did it just to make the safety guy happy. No, this is just some angry war veteran throwing a beaver into a box like it's another 8-hour work day. It's fantastic. That's it. They get the beavers loaded up on the plane. The plane takes off. They drop all the beavers in their designated drop zones. 75 of the 76 survive. I don't know how they know this. I'm assuming they had people on the ground at the different drop locations to make sure the boxes opened or that the beavers made it, whatever. But apparently the one beaver that didn't make it had somehow either slipped through the crack when the rope was loose or eaten his way out of the box after they had let it up the plane. And the beaver was last seen standing on top of the box with the parachute above it. And he probably would have been fine, except he got 75 feet off the ground. He decided to jump. So on one hand, that's kind of sad, but on the other hand, natural selection, that the other 75 beavers figured it out and you didn't. Probably on you. On a happier note, though, the boys at the Fish and Game Department decided to hook up the beaver Geronimo. This is posted in the Journal of Wildlife Management, Volume 14, number 2, April 1950. The article that translated beavers by airplane with parachute by W. Peter, IT Fish and Game Department, Paul Minor. And I quote, Geronimo had a priority reservation on the first ship that they had opened, and then the 3 young females went home. They had to hook up the boy. And he made it. Apparently they went to check in on him a couple years later. His colony was, and I quote, very well established. And Geronimo was not unique in that because pretty much every drop zone ended up turning into a thriving beaver colony in the following years because it kept tabs on this entire thing. And not only did it work, it was also super cost effective because according to this journal, the cost of transporting one of these time, man-hours, and fuel totaled to $12 for a total of $30 per call. And just to be clear, that's the actual crazy part about this story. It's not the fact that they actually had airborne beavers to go save the environment. No, that seems pretty reasonable. The crazy part is that these guys back in the 1940s managed to get the job done, have fun, and record it, and they did it for like $300 to $500. Because we all know in modern times, if they wanted to do this, there'd have to be like a 15-year-long environmental impact study that costs the U.S. taxpayers $25 million just so that the government can determine that if you drop beavers off the forest, they will in fact do what beavers do. And then once the government goes ahead and says it is in fact okay to put beavers in the woods, it's going to take another 10 years for Lockheed Martin and Boeing to bid on the contract worth $100 million to relocate 100 beavers into the woods.
Is it just me, or was that the stupidest thing we've ever seen?
Sorry, I'm reading. In conclusion, the moral of the story is, if it sounds dumb, but it works, it's not that dumb. Sometimes it's ridiculously cost-effective to just let people do their job. Also, beavers are cool, and airborne beavers are even cooler, and this is the story of America's banded beavers, the airborne paratrooper beavers that went in to save the environment. Thank you for watching. This is Mr. Jeff Forrest Arch from BattleFishing.com. Whack bang out. I didn't make a single vagina joke the entire video. Finally, sure. Don't forget to go check out Conflict of Nations, okay? You can pick your own country, mainly the United States, otherwise let's face it, you're just competing for second place. Don't forget to use my code down below to get the freebies. I'm gonna go conquer Wisconsin. Why? Because they've got spotted cow beer.
Sir, just so we're clear, angry beavers means the cartoon.
Welcome to Can You Get It? The Google Shopping Game Show where the deals are endless and everyone wins.
I am shopping for my biggest hater. My God, I'm shopping first. I'd like to shop for you. Am I allowed to do that? Yes, you are.
The goal is to score as many deals as possible and mark them off. Who is the most important man of D-Day? If you get on the internet, when you get the history book, and you ask that question, you're going to overwhelmingly be hit with the answer. It's General Eisenhower, which makes sense. He's the officer in charge of the entire operation, but that's not really what we're asking because, I mean, when you have an Amazon package getting delivered, you're not exactly worried about what Jeff Bezos is up to make sure you get your package, right? You want to know where that mail carrier is. You want to know who the person is on the ground actually getting the work done. 156,000 men took to the beaches at Normandy, and all of them had an incredibly important job. Take this objective, secure that area, make sure this happens, make sure that happens. But out of all of those missions, one of them had to have been deemed the most important. What is that mission, and who is the man that went out there and got it done? That's what we're asking. Today we're talking about Leonard LaMelle, a.k.a. Bud. Despite being one of the first men wounded on D-Day, he quite literally shrugged off his gunshot wound and proceeded to lead his men into combat for 3 straight days with virtually no food, no water, and no sleep to accomplish what is deemed as the most vital aspect of the D-Day assault, according to General Omar Bradley. And we're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Rich Wallet. Alright, we've talked about this before. Rich Wallet's awesome because it helps combat a rare medical condition known as dad wallet. Okay, there are actually men out there wandering around, carrying around a wallet in their back pocket that resembles a Chipotle burrito. The problem is that most men that suffer from dad wallet are in denial about it, so there's a very simple test that we can do. Open up that purse with no strap that you call a wallet, and if you still have a Blockbuster card inside of it, you have dad wallet. Sitting on a dad wallet like that is ruining your hips and it's ruining your lower back. You need to get rid of all of the junk inside of that wallet. Pick out like the 5 to 7 cards that you actually use. Put it inside of a Ridge wallet and start putting it in your front pocket. And I know what you're thinking, I don't like these metal wallets. I'm old school. I prefer leather. Congratulations. Ridge is making leather wallets now too. You have zero excuse. And to make it even better, they've got leather matching phone cases. Okay, so now your OCD is happy because all your stuff is matching and your back is going to feel better. You're welcome. So go check out Ridge Wallet. I have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. Alright, our story begins on January 22nd, 1940, when Leonard LaMelle was born in Brooklyn, New York. Shortly after that, his parents moved from out to New Jersey, eventually he spent the rest of his childhood growing up. He's the youngest of 4 siblings, having 3 older sisters, and both of his parents are first-generation immigrants from Norway. And like pretty much everybody else in Falkland in World War II, he grew up during the Great Depression. As I'm sure you can imagine, being the son of 2 first-generation immigrants during the Great Depression depression was not really that great of a time. Because of that, his childhood was extremely busy. When he wasn't going to school, he was playing sports. He played football, he boxed, he played baseball. And when he wasn't doing that, he was working. And he wasn't sleeping. It was go time 24/7 from his entire childhood. Leonard was pretty much hustling his entire childhood. He has a business where he would catch clams and fish and sell the local restaurants. He also worked as a caddy at the local golf course. He also ran the local pinball hall. And in addition to that, he even had a job as a delivery driver for a laundry service when he was 16 years old. And then he got fired after about a month because he found out he didn't have a driver's license. If there was money to be made, he was going to do whatever he had to make it. Despite all of that, he still made time to have a 1-hour piano lesson every single day. Fast forward, he graduates from high school. When he gets home, both of his parents sit him down, and he remembers this because it's the first time he's ever seen his dad cry. As his dad tells him, Len, I don't have any money to help you go to college. Now, his parents are both older at this point to have a son just graduate high school. His father is 69 years old, and he had been poor his entire childhood. He's watched his dad work his ass off the entire time. Len was not fazed by this at all. Not only did he not expect his parents to have money for him to go to college, he fully intended to go off to college, work, and send money back to help support him. And that's exactly what he did. He went off and he applied to every single college that he could, and only one of them was willing to give him an athletic scholarship, and it was Tennessee Wesleyan College. So that's where he went to school, and then when he wasn't playing football, he was working as much as he could to send money back to his parents. Not long was when college the draft started, so he figures, hey, I'm probably going to end up getting drafted anyways, so I might as well go off and try to join one of the military academies, because then I can become an officer and I'll make even more money, which is going to allow me to send more money back home to my parents. So he wants to start applying to all the military academies, especially West Point. The problem is, he goes up to the recruiter or the liaison, he's talking to him, he has all the paperwork, but he needs his birth certificate, he doesn't have it. Not only does he not have it, he doesn't even know if he has one. It's not uncommon for people born in the 1920s and the 1930s to just not have a birth certificate. A lot of people are born at home, and he honestly has no idea. And mom and dad don't have a house phone, so he ends up calling his older sister and is like, hey, do I even have a birth certificate? Do you know? Do mom and dad have it? Do I need to go figure out how to go get one? What's the deal here? And his sister gets like all quiet and awkward over the phone, and she's like, I think it's best you just come to my house and we'll talk about it. So he's like, all right, this is weird, but whatever. So he sets up time and he goes over to his sister's house and they meet up. So he shows up at his older sister's house. She answers the door. She's being all awkward. She's got tears in her eyes. And he's like, what is the big deal? I'm just trying to get a birth certificate. What is going on? She kind of sits him down and she's like, Bud, you were adopted. And he's like, okay, cool. So like, you have the birth certificate or not? Like, it was completely unfazed by the entire thing. And his sister is like distraught. And she's crying. And she's like, what? You don't care? And he's like, no, not really. I had two terrific parents and great sisters. I love you guys. It makes literally zero impact on my life. I'm just trying to get the birth certificate so I can go off to West Point. How do I go about getting it? And his sister is like, okay, look, I'll get the birth certificate from mom and dad. You just have to promise me that you won't let them know that you know that you're adopted, because it means a lot to them, because they really do want you to know that you're their actual son. And Bud, just completely unfazed still, is like, yeah, okay, cool, great, just get the birth certificate. I got stuff to do. Okay, great, wonderful, bye. Well, his sister's figuring that out. He finishes up, graduates from college in 1941, moves back home to New Jersey, where he starts working for the railroad as he starts getting the rest of the paperwork together and applying to all the military academies. And then, before he can get accepted into a military academy, he ends up getting drafted, so that kind of blows a hole in his entire plan.
Fannie Mae Pixies. When premium ingredients like smooth caramel, crunchy pecans, and creamy milk chocolate come together, memories are made forever. Fannie Mae. Together is timeless.
Black Friday deals are happening at your going on by Dick's Sporting Goods. Don't miss our biggest sale of the year. Score an extra 50% off the lowest ticketed price on thousands of styles. Shop top athletic brands like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Jordan, Columbia, and more. Find sweatshirts, pants, jackets, shoes, plus more for the whole family at incredibly low prices. Dig in and score unbeatable deals and gifts at Going On before the sale ends today.
So Bud goes off for training and he absolutely crushes it for multiple reasons. One, that's just the type of guy that he is. He's going to do something, he wants to do a good job at it. Number two, he's smart. He realizes that the U.S. military is expanding rapidly. And with that rapid expansion, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for promotion. And if he's the best guy around, he's going to get that promotion. When he gets that promotion, he's going to get more money, which means he's going to have more money to send back to the mom and dad. So not only is he just coming at this as, I want to do a good job, I want to survive, this man is already competing for his family to eat food back home, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is an entirely different level of motivation that a lot of other recruits simply just don't have. Because of that, after he completes training, he goes off to his unit, 76th Infantry Division, and he rapidly climbs the ranks. In a matter of like a year, he achieves the rank of first sergeant, which, if you don't know, is absolutely crazy. Like, by today's standards, that's literally impossible. I think the fastest that you can make first sergeant today, if you did everything 110% correct and you were a literal prodigy, would be 9 years. And Leonard Lamel just did it in like 1. So because he was such a hotshot, he gets offered by his chain of command to go out to this high-speed school known as Ranger and Combat School, which is a precursor to what we know today as the Army Rangers. If you don't know, the 75th Ranger Regiment today is a special forces unit, and the easiest way I can explain this to you is they're essentially America's sharpest blunt instrument. Okay, they're America's premier shock troops. They basically just took the top 1% of all the grunts, stuck them in one unit, and then they send them out to destroy things on possible missions. And that's basically how they pitch it to Lamel. This is a school that you can go to become a better leader, a better soldier, and then also they're going to be picking some of the best guys out of it to go into this new special forces unit called the Army Rangers that are going to be sent out on the toughest, most dangerous missions. And obviously he didn't do it because he didn't think that would better come time for his next promotion. So he goes out to this Ranger course. There's 200 recruits. They strip them down, they take their rank off. All they have is this matching jumpsuit, and they beat the holy hell out of these guys for weeks. They barely feed them. They barely give them water. They're making them do hand-to-hand combat training all day long. They're doing front marches. They're doing physical training. It is an absolute nightmare.
This is nothing like the recruiting brochure.
By the time that training's over, that class of 200 high-speed soldiers has been whittled down to 60, and Leonard Lamel is one of them. Not only is he one of the 60 that made it, he is one of the very best, and he is personally asked by the general in charge if he wants to become an Army Ranger, because they are standing up the 2nd Ranger Battalion, and they are looking for new recruits. And to the general shock, Lamel actually tells him he'd have to think about it. This kind of catches the general off guard, right? I mean, this is a big deal. He just went to Ranger school. Surely he wants to be a Ranger. Why wouldn't this guy say yes immediately? So he kind of pushes him on it, and Lamel tells him, like, hey, look, I'd love to do it, but here's the deal. At the end of the day, I'm here for whoever's going to pay me the most money. If I go back to my old unit, I'm going to be a first sergeant. I don't want to come into the Ranger unit and have to take a pay cut and be like, a corporal or just a regular sergeant or something. So, unless you guys are going to make me a first sergeant, Ranger first sergeant pays more than a first sergeant back in my normal infantry division, I'm going to have to think about it. At which point the general's like, cool, you're first sergeant of the Rangers and you get paid more than that. At which point Lamel is like, yo, I'm in. And just like that, Leonard Lamel is now the very first sergeant of Dog Company of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. So Lamel goes, he gets all his boys from Dog Company, they start training right away. And you gotta remember, they're standing up the 2nd Ranger Battalion at this point. Okay, it is a complete and utter shit show. You're standing up a new unit. It's not just like you throw a bunch of guys together, you're like, hey, you're on a team now. No, a unit has its own culture. It has its own standard operating procedures. They have to build all of that from the ground up. And Leonard Lamel and his guys in Dog Company are there for every single second. And right out of the gate, it's rough. The Army's having a very tough time finding the right officers to lead this unique unit in the battle, right? They're constantly rotating out battalion and company commanders, trying to find the right guys. And then they finally end up finding the right man to lead the 2nd Ranger Battalion, a lieutenant colonel by the name of Big Jim Runner. On his very first day, he calls the entire battalion in and gives his, introductory speech on his mission and what he's trying to accomplish with the unit. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically what he says is, look, here's the deal. I'm going to train the holy hell out of you guys. I need you to do everything I ask you to do at 150%. And in exchange, I'm going to do absolutely everything I can for you. I'm going to have your back. I'm going to be your guy. And I'm going to get you as much of me as I possibly can. And if you give me everything you got, I'm going to give you everything I can in exchange. And that's just the beginning of the leadership clinic that Jim Runner is about to put on. He starts having a monthly right sections for the entire battalion. And you're up there battalion and everything going on around them. And he's willing to listen to every single man under his command, even the lowest ranking private. One of the first things the Rangers complained about was that the food wasn't very good. So Jim Runner had the cooks send them back to cook school to relearn how to do their job. Then they came back a couple of weeks later and the Rangers still said the food wasn't good enough. So Jim Runner sent them back to school again.
Have the spaghetti with a side salad. The salad is on top. I sent it back.
On another occasion, a private at one of these right sessions has the balls to stand up in front of the entire battalion and say, sir, when I volunteered for the Rangers, I was told that every Ranger would receive a pocket watch, and I wasn't given. Now, to us today, this seems kind of silly or petty, but you have to keep this in context, right? Back in the day, these watches were very much considered a luxury item because they didn't have little tiny cheap digital watches you could buy for $15. And what kind of was, the only watches around at this time were mechanical watches and more commonly automatic watches, which are the ones that are self-winding with all the little tiny gears and springs on the inside. They're very hard to manufacture with these tiny little itty-bitty pieces. Due to the difficulty of manufacturing and the fact that the Army is growing exponentially, they simply can't manufacture watches fast enough to be able to give every person in the military a watch, despite the fact that the Army does have a standard issue watch, the A11. So at this point in time, not everybody's getting a watch. They're reserving it for the people that need it the most, people like pilots, people in leadership positions. They're definitely not giving them out to every local private that's just there to take orders. But this isn't just a local private. This is a private in the 2nd Ranger Battalion who was promised a watch and a ranger. And because of that, Jim Rutter takes on his personal watch in front of everybody and gives it to the private. So obviously Jim Rutter is an incredible leader, but more importantly than that, he's also a visionary that has all kinds of crazy training that he's going to have these rangers do. One of the most important things that he actually does is he goes and he gets his hands on all of the German firearms, right? He gets MG42s, he gets Berg guns, he gets all the German weapons, and he trains his entire Ranger battalion on how to disassemble, reassemble, clean, and fire all of the German weapons because he knows that they're going to sit and then do a mission and they're going to run out of ammo and they might have to start picking up guns on all the dead Germans. So he wants every single man in the Ranger battalion to be able to use those weapons. In addition to that, they also do a bunch of chemical warfare training in case the Germans want to break out the mustard gas like they did last time. And then after that, they mostly focus on climbing. Now, the way they go about that is they ship it over to Great Britain, and the entire battalion is staying inside this hotel that's on a cliff overlooking the ocean, okay? And they get there, and they have the battalion doing climbing training. Jim Rutter walks all the guys with like this carved staircase that goes down this 80-foot cliff that goes down to the ocean. Climbing. Also, this is the only time we're using that staircase, and everybody is kind of looking around like, how are we going to get down here if we're not using the stairs? Every single morning to get to training, the Rangers have to go up to the 3rd story of the hotel, tie a rope to the radiator, throw it out the window, rappel down the side of the hotel, run across the yard, scale the chain link fence where the cliff is so nobody falls off, and then rappel down the 80-foot cliff just to get to the beach to get to training on how to climb. And once they're down there, they do all different types of climbing. They're climbing with grappling hooks and ropes, they're climbing with nets, they're free climbing, any and every technique they have available, they're getting super good. And around this time of training, one of the sergeants for Dog Company accidentally drops an entire ammo bag on the men down below him. Somebody ends up getting injured. The company commander ends up ordering Lamel to bust this guy down from sergeant to private, which is a big deal getting demoted from NCO all the way back down to private. It's a big pay cut. It sucks. Lamel doesn't want to do it. It was an accident, but he's ordered to do it by the company commander. So he has to go ahead, and he doesn't. And the sergeant, now private, doesn't take it very well. He says something along the lines of, you know what, that's fine, first sergeant. Once the battle starts, first sergeant's always getting what's coming to him, and then see you attack. It's kind of like this veiled threat. Lamel's like, okay, whatever. Sorry, you're upset. Anyways, moving on. They get back to training, and they're climbing. And while they continue their climbing training, they find out that not only are they going to partake in D-Day, they're going to be given the most dangerous and most important mission of the entire D-Day assault.
You smell amazing.
Thanks! It's native. It's all the horsepower without the horseplay. Clean, simple, effective deodorant. It's not a myth. It's native.
In this world, nothing is as it seems. On November 30th, survivors gathered in their Survivor Series 4 games from Vancouver, British Columbia. Streaming exclusively on Peacock.
Overlooking the American landing sites of Omaha and Utah Beach for D-Day, there's a point that is 20 hawk, and on top of it is 6 German 155mm pieces. If these artillery pieces are allowed to remain functional during the landings, they will lead to the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans and potentially the sinking of a vessel because it overlooks the surrounding ocean as well. The problem is the only way to get up there to destroy that artillery is to climb a 110-foot cliff face while the Germans are shooting at you. This is deemed absolutely impossible by military intelligence. One of the military intelligence reports literally says, and I quote, 3 more women with brooms could repel a landing force in Utah. General Bradley, in his memoir, recalls this order as the most difficult thing he's ever asked of anyone in his 40-year-long career. Because of this, they give the Rangers anything and everything they think they might need to be successful, and they're allowed to come up with whatever plan they think is going to work. Because at this point, they're basically the climbing experts in the U.S. military. They get the aerial footage so they know the terrain. They build the 3D models so every single ranger in the 2nd Ranger Battalion can remember every little training aspect of the Point Du Hoc. So the plan is they're going to show up at Point Du Hoc and try to disable this artillery prior to the first wave of D-Day. Because remember, that's the entire point. They have to get this artillery disabled before everybody else starts landing on the beach, right? So not only are they being given this difficult task of climbing a 100-foot cliff under enemy gunfire, nobody else is there, so they get the Germans' undivided attention the entire time. So the obvious question, how on earth are you actually going to do this and have any amount of success? Hear me out. We're going to take all of the landing ships, and we're going to mount gigantic grappling hooks onto rocket launchers, and we're just going to beach the ships and fire rocket-propelled grappling hooks up over the cliff and start climbing as fast as humanly possible. And then as soon as some of the guys start making it to the top of the cliff and get in a firefight with the Germans, and the Germans have their hands occupied with that, we're going to bring in another landing ship that's got a fire truck ladder on it that can reach to the top of this cliff. We're going to reach that and then use the fire truck ladder to funnel more guys up the cliff even faster. And at the top of that fire truck ladder is going to be a guy with 3 Vickers machine guns. So he's just going to pop up from over this cliff edge with 3 machine guns and start mowing down Germans. It's the craziest fucking plan I've ever heard of. You remember a couple of minutes ago when I said the Rangers are the U.S. military's sharpest blunt instrument? This is exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Their strategy is to run face first into the German defenses and just be so fast and so overtly aggressive that they win anyways. Could you imagine being a German soldier, seeing a bunch of American ships roll up, and they're like, oh, hey, the Americans are here, and suddenly gigantic fucking grappling hooks strapped to rockets start landing 100 feet of this cliff next to you. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And then as soon as you're able to get your shoes on and grab your gun and go do something about it, a fucking fire truck ladder pops up from over the side of this cliff with a dude with 3 fucking machine guns. He's only got 2 arms. What does he need 3 machine guns for? This is the most American shit I've ever heard of in my entire life. I mean, we've all heard the expression, it's faster to switch to your sidearm than it is to reload, but we've never heard the expression, it's faster to switch to your tertiary machine gun than it is to reload your first 2 machine guns. So that's really the entire game plan, just straight up brute force and ignorance. Hit the enemy so hard, so fast that the fight is over before they even know they're going to fuck you. Alright, D-Day, this is the part where I wish I could tell you that they rolled up, everything went according to plan, and it was quick, violent, and over, we win, hooray, but that's not what happened, because it was a shit show the entire time. Here's what's going on. It's supposed to be about an hour and 20-minute boat ride in a British LCA. Think of it as like a bigger version of an American Higgins boat. We've got the British Navy piloting these ships, and while that's going on, we decided we're not just going to use the element of surprise. Instead, we're going to pound Point Du Hoc with aerial bombardment and naval bombardment from the USS Texas and the USS Arkansas, and then we're going to stop bombarding it right as the Rangers roll up. That way, by the time they get the courage to poke their heads out, the Rangers are escaping. That's the plan that we're doing. And the first problem is half the Rangers have food. Last night for dinner, they gave these guys hot dogs, and one of the batches of hot dogs was tainted, and now about half the Rangers are puking inside of the LCAs. And on top of that, the seas are rougher than they anticipated, which is making it even worse. It's so bad that water is getting inside the ships, and Leonard Linnell literally has to pour all the mad in his LCA and start using their helmets as a shovel to start bucketing water out of the boat so it doesn't sink. This is supposed to be about an hour and 20-minute boat ride to get from the big ships all the way to the beach, and they're just sitting there going up and down in the seas. Dudes are sick, they're puking, they're looking over at Point Du Hoc, and it is just getting pounded by the British RAF dropping bombs and American naval gunfire hitting this point over and over and over again. It's so loud these guys can't even hear themselves think. One of them actually leans over to Leonard Linnell and screams at the top of his lungs just so Leonard can hear. I wonder if they know we're coming. As they get closer and closer to the shore, both Lieutenant Colonel Rudder and Linnell realize that the British toxins that are driving these boats are taking them to the wrong spot. It takes a while, but they argue with the British. They're telling them they're going to the wrong spot. The British don't think they are. The Rangers are like, trust me, we've memorized every square inch of this beach. We know exactly where we're supposed to be. You need to take us over there. So they change course, but they're wasting time, right? Because they're bombarding Point Du Hoc, and they need to be able to land the second those bombs and naval gunfire stop. As they begin making their way to the right drop-off point, the seas are so rough that some of these boats are getting so much water in them that two of them actually end up sinking, and the other boats have to make the hard decision to just keep pushing forward because they don't have time to stop and save these guys. Another Navy ship's going to have to come in after them and pick them up there. And just like that, before they even hit the beach, they are already going from 225 Rangers down to 108. By the time they reach the beach at Point du Hoc, they are 40 minutes behind schedule, meaning that the bombardment has ended 40 minutes ago, and the Nazis had about 30 minutes to regroup and get ready for this attack that they know is coming. This is already catastrophic to the success of this mission, but there's nothing they can do but keep pushing forward because they can't do it a different day. There's 156,000 other men that are about to hit the beaches, and if they don't take out these guns, they are going to get bombarded with 155mm artillery fire. And to make things worse, because the Rangers are 40 minutes behind schedule, it means they've got about 20 minutes to scale a 110-foot cliff under enemy gunfire, get up there, fight the enemy, and destroy the artillery before everybody else starts landing on the beach. Lamel's boat is one of the first ones to beach itself. They drop the door. He goes running out first. He's going to lead his men into combat. He's supposed to be in about ankle deep water. He takes one step and sinks. He's completely consumed by the water. In hindsight, one of the bombs from the RAF missed its target, created a crater right where the water line is. The water, and that's what he was sucked into. But his men end up pulling him out. And as soon as his men get him pulled out, he gets shot in the back. And Lamel, having been shot and almost drowned in the matter of a couple of seconds, doesn't really know what happened. So he turns around thinking that he'd been shot, and the first person that he sees is that private that had threatened him. I'll see you in combat, Sergeant. His brain immediately thinks, this motherfucker just shot me. So he goes and grabs this kid, and the men and all the other men have to pull Lamel off. And they're like, no, he didn't shoot you. He didn't shoot you. He's the enemy. So Lamel turns and runs into combat. His men go running after him, and Lamel and the rest of Dog Company manage to scale the 110-foot cliff under enemy gunfire in under 10 minutes. Yeah, just for the record, I can't get my wife and kids in the car in under 10 minutes. And these guys got 30 men with guns and 50-pound backpacks up a 110-foot vertical cliff under enemy gunfire in 10 minutes. That's crazy. Lamel's Dog Company and Easy Company are the first ones up the cliff. The minute they get up there, they are immediately disoriented, and all their plans go right out the window. Remember, they studied the terrain. They know what it's supposed to look like up there, and it does not look like that now. The Allied forces have bombarded Point du Hoc with 380 tons of ordnance, okay? What they're looking at now resembles the surface of the moon. There's no time to make a new plan. The clock is ticking, and they have to destroy these guns, okay? Given a lack of instruction, you have to resort to destruction. All of the Rangers proceed to dive into one of these massive craters from above. They said these craters were so big that they could easily fit 15 to 20 men. Half the men in the crater pop up and start returning fire to the Germans, giving cover for the other half of the men to jump to the next nearest crater. Then they begin returning fire so that the other half can catch up to them, and they begin using bounding or leapfrogging to go all the way to where one of these guns are. They can see the massive gun barrel sticking up in the air, pointed at Omaha Beach. They finally get to the gun, and they hop down in the artillery emplacement. It's not a gun, it's a fucking telephone pole that's propped up to look like a gun barrel. Immediately, Lamel is like, what the fuck is going on? But we can't wait. We have to keep going. There's potentially 5 more guns, and we need to take them out too. So they begin mounting again to the next gun. It's a telephone pole. The next gun. It's a telephone pole. Soon, they've been to all 6 artillery emplacements, and all of them are telephone poles. The guns aren't even here. Lamel is furious. He's got steam coming out of his ears. Was all this for nothing? Were the guns ever here? Was this just a clever ploy by the Germans and the U.S. military intelligence fell for it? Did he just risk his life and all the lives of his men for literally no reason at all? And as Lamel's trying to figure out what to do next, there's this underground fortress that they didn't even tell him was there. They just found it. So Easy Company ends up going in. They're going to clear out the fortress, while the rest of the Dog Company goes and tries to find these guns. And if they can't find the guns, they're going to go to the road back behind Point du Hoc and try to hold it to prevent German reinforcements from going to Omaha and Utah Beach. So Easy and Dog Company split up. Dog Company heads out to go defend this road, and as they're making their way there, Lamel notices a set of ruts in one of the roads, like something really heavy drove through with the ground flood. He wants to go investigate, but also he can't. He's literally accomplished nothing so far, and he has to go defend this road and prevent reinforcements. He has to do something to help the guys out on the beach. And so what he decides to do is he's going to send the rest of his company to go defend that road. They all know what they're doing. He grabs his best buddy, Jack Q, him and Jack are going to go investigate these ruts real quick. It's probably nothing, but he has to know. So Lamel and Jack take off running, following these ruts, and after about a mile, it actually leads to all 6 of the German guns.
I told you I would find you.
We've got about 50 million followers. We're in the billions, and we're a small tech. And we always felt like our content was all about entertainment and being fun, but there was also this sort of professional business side. One of the things that we knew was basically essential was getting our own website, so people would actually see a proper official grooming business that we can deliver. And we now get unbelievable opportunities to do things like film balloon popping races with Manchester City. I don't know all the things that we're going to get to do in the next year.
Now, they don't know this at the time, but the reason the Germans moved the guns to Northern location was because all of the Allied bombing raids that took place prior to Normandy had orders that they weren't allowed to come back to Great Britain and land, but they still had bombs. If they had bombs left after their mission, they were ordered to drop those bombs in the English Channel, or they could drop them on any German military installation that you find along the way. And as it would have it, by sheer coincidence, most of the time, the last German military installation before going into the English Channel was Point du Hoc. So it had been getting pounded for weeks and months by just random bombs and random times. And because of that, the Germans realized that they needed to move the guns to an alternate location, and the American and Allied forces had no idea. From there, the Germans were planning on having an underground network at Point du Hoc, so they would call that targeting position to the further back guns, and they'd still be able to fire on all beaches. And the only reason these guns aren't firing at this exact moment is because Easy Company is down in that fortress fighting the Germans. And apparently the Germans that are supposed to be manning these guns haven't done anything because they're still back 50 guns that they did off their hands, even the guns that they did not make. So they basically need to get gun replacements. And Lamel tells Jack, hey, give me your thermite grenade, keep your gun pointed on those guys over there. If they start coming towards us, light them up, and that'll be my signal to hop out of the hole, and we'll try to run off back to Doggy. So Jack postures up with his gun, and the Germans off in the distance. Lamel hops out of the hole, and he starts using these thermite grenades. Now, it's a grenade, but it doesn't go boom, it's not loud, it just burns at 4,000 degrees. He takes one of these grenades, shoves it down the first gun barrel, goes to the next one, shoves another thermite grenade down that gun barrel. He's out of thermite grenades. Every ranger was going to issue one. He knows he's going to have to go back and get more thermite grenades and come back and destroy these guns. He can't leave 4 guns perfectly operational. Anything can happen between now and then. So what he does is he takes his field coat off, wraps it around the buttstock of his rifle, and uses it to quietly break all the sighting equipment that he possibly can. And he's just jamming shit and all the traversing mechanisms, doing everything he can to ruin these guns the best he can without more thermite grenades. Once he's satisfied, him and Jack run back to Dog Company, get more thermite grenades, go back to the guns. Thank God they're still not guarding them, and they finish destroying the other 4 guns. This is great news. The mission's accomplished. Now Dog Company just has to go hold this road for 24 hours until they get hit with reinforcements from Omaha and Utah Beach. As they're walking back to Dog Company, Jack kind of looks over at Lamel and is like, probably a good thing we didn't get the firefight back there. I've only got 1 magazine of ammunition. At which point Lamel is like, what? Why? He's like, I lost it at some point during, landing and running around from bomb crater to bomb crater. So yeah, I've only had 15 bullets on me this entire time. He's like, why didn't you ask me for some? Jack's like, I don't know, I didn't think about it. Regardless, they make their way back over the road to link back up with Dog Company. When they get there, Dog Company is in the middle of a firefight. Dog Company's on one side of the road, hiding in some foxholes or a ditch or whatever. On the other side of the road, there's a house and a German machine gun nest, and they're having this firefight. Lamel gets in there, figures out what's going on. Basically, his entire company is planning on just bum rushing the German machine gun nest. And he's like, well, hold on. He's feeling pretty good at this time, right? I mean, he took out those guns basically by himself. He's got that main character energy flowing. He's like, all right, here's the deal. You guys stay here. Hand me that bazooka. Arm the charge in the back. I'll take care of this. So they arm the charge in the back, hand him the bazooka. He goes running out, pops up out of the ditch with the bazooka, aims at the machine gun nest. They start returning fire. Lamel fires a bazooka. Click! This guy's been armed with a bazooka round. So he almost gets shot. He ducks back down in the ditch. Well, that was kind of it's only going to work one strategy, so we can't really replicate that now. So it looks like we are going to bomb rush this machine gun position. So he starts getting his guys ready, and he's like counting down, and one of his guys just jumps the gun, 1, 2, and he jumps up and goes to run. The Germans open up with machine gun fire. He stumbles back into the trench and ends up landing on one of the other Rangers' bayonets on his thigh. So now he's another guy down just for being a dumbass. So they get that guy bandaged up, leave him in the trench. The rest of them go assault this machine gun nest, take it out. Now they've secured the road. From there, Lamel's got 12 guys left. He picks the 2 fastest guys and instructs them to run back to Point du Hoc, taking separate routes. That way, if one of them get caught, the other one should, in theory, still make it back. They deliver the message to Lieutenant Colonel Runner. Mission accomplished. We destroyed the guns, and I desperately need reinforcements up to hold this road. Luckily, both men end up making it back to Runner. They deliver the message. He's super happy, but the problem is all of the Rangers' communication equipment got damaged on the water from the beach landing. In addition to that, they asked for more reinforcements to be able to hold Point Du Hoc and secure the road. Unfortunately, there aren't any. What the Rangers have now is all they're going to get. So Runner sends Lamel's guys back to him with the message, hold until Dooley believes. Not exactly what Lamel wanted to hear, but it's what we got to do. So him and his men are just hiding, waiting to ambush anybody that's going to reinforce the beach. Luckily, after a couple of hours, more Rangers show up, about 50, 60 guys, and they line up along the road too. The Rangers are now spread out, covering about 300 to 400 yards of this road. About an hour later, an entire German battalion attacks, but they attack all the way on the other end of the Ranger formation. Lamel and Dog Company are the furthest away from it, so Lamel orders his men to hold their fire and not give up their position. That way, they're there to surprise them in case they try to flank the other Rangers. The Rangers would probably attack fairly quickly, which tells Lamel he definitely made the right decision because that was just testing. They wanted to know how many Rangers were there, where they were at, and what they were capable of. And now they don't know that Lamel and Dog Company are there to help them. About an hour later, the Germans attack again, and they attack so hard, so quick, they end up crashing the Ranger line, and the other two companies are forced to retreat. And by the time Lamel gets word that they're retreating, the Germans are already behind him, and he's completely cut off. So with the rest of the Rangers being driven back, Lamel and Dog Company being the only ones left behind enemy lines to guard this road, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to continue to guard the road and prevent reinforcements from making it, because that's what the mission is. Back at Point Du Hoc with the rest of the 2nd Ranger Battalion, they are boxed in on 3 sides by the Germans, and they have the ocean to their back. They have nowhere to go, and they are just stuck there trying to survive. Rodder finally comes to the realization that Dog Company has more than likely been killed in action since they didn't make it back with their units. So with that in mind and needing to keep himself from being overrun, he calls for aid fire into the enemy lines, which is actually where Lamel and Dog Company are. The USS Texas begins bombarding that exact area. For the next 2 days, the Rangers at Point Du Hoc fight for their survival, while Lamel and Dog Company are stuck behind enemy lines, guarding the road, while the USS Texas is constantly bombarded. They pretty much just have to keep their heads down, hope that a large formation of Germans don't come looking for them, and hope that the USS Texas doesn't blow them off the face of the earth. Despite all of this, Lamel is still determined to stop reinforcements from making it to the beach, and if they do come marching by, he isn't going to attempt to do something about it. Only 12 men, it's almost certainly a destiny. Luckily, that doesn't end up happening. So while that's good, it is still a very long, very shitty 2 days, because this entire mission was only supposed to be about a 12-hour ordeal. None of the Rangers packed food, they packed very little water, they are all starving, they're dehydrated, and at one point they all had to start using their helmets as toilets. Then on the 2nd day, the Sherman tanks come rolling up from the beach, they drive the Germans back, Lamel and Dog Company are able to regroup with the rest of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. Lamel reports back to Rudder. Rudder's pumped. He thought Lamel and Dog Company were dead. And then Rudder realizes, oh shit, I've had the USS Texas shooting cars at you guys for the past 48 hours. My bad. At which point Lamel presumably is like, don't worry about it, I've got plot armor, it's no big deal. And again, I'm assuming here, but it's around this point where Lamel goes, oh shit, I got shot 2 days ago. And he pulls up his shirt, looks at his gunshot wound. It's right through the side, through the muscle. This is all the organs, but it's been like 3 days since he got shot, and he has not been in a very clean environment. And his wound is black and severely infected.
Oh, yeah, you! What the fuck?
Greetings, rivals. I'm Zero, the lead designer for Marvel Rivals, responsible for reviewing our heroes, heroes, and gamers on the pod. First off, big thanks for all your support. We have been working hard preparing for the imminent launch of Marvel Rivals. We are refining content, altering bugs, and optimizing performance to make sure.
Lamel immediately gets loaded up on a boat, sent out to a hospital ship. On the hospital ship, the surgeon is like, that's too much for me to handle here, and he gets sent back to Britain. While at Britain, Lamel undergoes surgery, gets treated with antibiotics. After he's recovered enough to actually, be getting some kind of an assignment, it was basically determined by the chain of command, like, hey, we basically sent you on a death mission, you got shot, you're the one that took out the guns at Point Du Hoc, you've done enough, we're not going to send you back into combat, we're actually going to put you in charge of this prison, and this prison is full of American soldiers that skipped out on duty. And Lamel is not even a little bit interested. He basically goes AWOL, hitchhikes back to the front line, and links back up with the 2nd Ranger Battalion and Dog Company.
I'm back.
So he makes back to his guys, and they're only like 7 miles further inland than they were when he actually left. And everybody kind of thinks of like the Battle of Normandy was like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan. It was literally 45 minutes, and that was the end of it. The Battle of Normandy was almost 3 whole months. So they're still in the middle of the same battle where he was injured. He went back to a different country, got the surgery, and hitchhiked back to the front line with the very same overall major battle. Yeah, if you're not picking up what it went down, the enemy literally took out Leonard Lamel, and he respawned into the same battle. Okay, this is the most main character shit that's ever happened. So he gets back to the 2nd Ranger Battalion. He's immediately given a promotion to Sergeant Major, the highest enlisted rank, and then he is also given the Distinguished Service Cross. Now, the Distinguished Service Cross is the 2nd highest award you can get, right below the Medal of Honor, which raises a question: why on earth is he not being awarded the Medal of Honor? And the answer to that actually lies with the 1st Ranger Battalion, that is currently basically a bunch of living legends after fighting for North Africa and Italy. Their commander, William Darby, they were affectionately known as Darby's Rangers. He felt that the Rangers were not a group of individuals that fought on the battlefield together, but they were one singular entity, because that's how tight-knit their team was. So with that sentiment in mind, he kind of declared that Rangers weren't really eligible for the Medal of Honor because they didn't feel that one man should be honored, the entire unit should be honored. So on one hand, that's kind of cool, but on the other hand, it's kind of silly because he still allowed the Rangers to get every other singular individual awarded medal under the sun, including the Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Stars, Bronze Stars. So like, why not let him get the Medal of Honor as well? It just seems kind of silly. And Lieutenant Colonel Munn actually kind of agreed with me, and because of that, when he pinned the Distinguished Service Cross on Lamel's chest, he told him, and I quote, "This is your Medal of Honor." From here, the Rangers are going out on missions, a couple of skirmishes here and there. They end up going to the Battle of Brest. There's this hilltop that nobody else can take called Hill 63. They send the Rangers in. Rangers take over the entire thing. They control the hill until the Battle of Brest is over. They've won that. After that battle, Lamel gets another promotion. He gets a battlefield commission to 2nd Lieutenant, becoming an officer. From here, the Rangers get sent over to a place called the Herdskin Forest. Very, very dense forest, and it holds virtually no strategic advantage to the Allies, but for some reason, the Germans really seem to think it's important, so the Americans are just going to fire for it. They don't even know why. And here's a kicker and sad/ironic part, but the Germans are actually running on the exact same logic. They also have no need for the Herdskin Forest, and they don't know why they're fighting there. The only reason they're showing up and fighting so hard is because the Americans are showing up there and fighting so hard. So they think the Americans are using some type of strategic advantage, and they have no idea why either. So literally both sides of this extremely deadly battle are just operating on, I don't know what you're up to, but fuck you, I'm not going to allow it. What? Fuck you! So Lamel and the Rangers end up showing up, and he's thinking, like, okay, I'm an officer now, they're going to send us into battle, I'm going to take the hard objective, whatever that is, we're going to win, hooray. But the leadership doesn't really understand how to use the Rangers or know how to use it yet, so they just end up putting them out on the line and telling them to hold this ground and don't let the Germans through. And Lamel's pissed about this because A, this isn't how Rangers are supposed to be used, and B, this job absolutely sucks. You gotta remember, it's like October of 1944 over in like the Belgium, Germany area. Okay, it's super cold, and all these guys are doing is basically hiding in their foxholes, freezing their asses off. So this goes on for like a month, just being cold, having the Germans drop artillery on top of them, and then after a month, on seemingly a random day, they get orders to move out. They've got some dangerous mission they're supposed to go on. There's a town called Bergstein, and right next to that town is this gigantic hill known as Castle Hill by the Germans, but the Americans call it Hill 400 because it is 400 meters high. Hill 400 is the high ground of the Herdskin Forest, and it is a reason that they're not making any headway in this battle because the Germans can see everything. They just call their artillery on top of them anytime they try to move forces forward. So the American forces have to take this hill to this town. The problem is every time they move an infantry regiment in, they just get beat back, and nobody can seem to penetrate and take over this town and this hill. The last American unit that tried had just over 5,000 men in tanks, and they failed. So now they're going to send the 2nd Ranger Battalion with approximately 500 men. Lamel and his guys at Dog Company and F Company are going to be responsible for taking the hill, and all the other Ranger companies are going to be taking Bergstein. They spent the first 2 days sending out patrols, finding every single machine gun nest and fortification, and after they know where every single German is, they launch a surgical attack, and they're able to capture both Bergstein and the hill in an hour and a half. But the problem is both Dog and Fox Company commanders got killed during this attack, and now Lamel is the only officer on the hill, and he's in charge of everything. So now he's going to hold this hill for the next 24 hours till reinforcements show up. It shouldn't be that hard. But what Leonard Lamel doesn't know is that the only objective that the Germans care about in the Herdskin Forest is Hill 400. You see, Hill 400 is high enough that if the Allies have it, they're going to be able to see far enough into enemy lines that they're going to be able to see a massive German force amassing, and they're going to know that a major German offensive is coming, and that is what is the Oregon Offensive, or the march. This is Hitler's last-ditch effort to turn the tide of World War II, and it relies heavily on the element of surprise. And if the Allies have Hill 400 and they see it coming, it can ruin the entire plan. So the Germans absolutely have to retake this hill. And because of that, the German general in charge sends in his best infantry unit with the orders that whoever's able to retake that hill is all going to get their men Iron Crosses, which is like a very high-ranking German medal for valor, and they're all going to get 2 weeks of leave. Back from the hill, Lamel immediately orders all the Rangers to start digging foxholes because he knows a fight might be coming. He just doesn't know how bad. And either way, you need foxholes to play defense, so that's what they try to do. Problem, it's winter, there's snow and ice all over the ground, and there's tree roots all over this dirt, so whatever foxholes they're able to dig, they're not very deep. So an hour later, when the German artillery starts landing, it absolutely devastates every Ranger on top of that hill. Almost every Ranger on top of the hill is hit with shrapnel from German artillery. It's just a matter of how bad their individual injuries are. Lamel himself is also hit in the hand, and his index finger is dangling by a piece of connective tissue. Between Dog and Fox Company, about 130 Rangers attack this hill, and right out of the gate, Lamel is already down to about 40 men that can move around and actually fight. And his mom's going to be pissed off because he's not going to be able to play the piano with 9 fingers. Lamel immediately realizes that playing conventional defense isn't going to work. He doesn't really have any foxholes, and even if he did, he doesn't have enough men to man him. So he decides the best defense is a good offense. He sends out 2-man scout squads, and they're going to patrol around the base of the hill. And whenever they see the Germans are starting to set up an attack, they're going to report back where the Germans are going to attack. And all of the men that will pass, all 40 to 50 guys, are going to run and meet them head on and drive them. And that's exactly what happens. Shortly after that shelling, the Germans attack. Lamel and his men meet head on and drive them back. They get shelled again. They scout. They find where the Germans are going to attack again. They meet it head on again. And this goes on over and over and over again. Lamel and his men are running around all over this hill, getting in every single firefight that there is. And when they're not doing that, they're trying to render aid to all the guys that are wounded. But with the Germans, it feels a lot different because every time they try to attack from a different spot and a different angle, they run face first into 50 pissed off Army Rangers. So the Germans are thinking there's like 1,000 Army Rangers on top of this hill, but regardless, they keep on attacking and they keep on shelling. And after 24 hours, when they're supposed to be getting reinforcements, Lamel is down to himself and about 25 other men that can fight. He calls for reinforcements, but there's none available because the Germans are also furiously attacking the town next to the hill as well. D-Day is commonly referred to as the longest day. According to Lamel, this was by far the longest day of his life, and it made D-Day look like child's play. Which sounds absolutely crazy, but if anybody would know, it's him. At this point, there's no reinforcements on the way. He has a ton of injured men, a ton of men have been killed, and he only has like 25 guys left that can even kind of fight. He knows that he can't keep doing this much longer, if at all. So at this point, Lamel pulls his NCOs aside and asks them what they think about retreat. He figures that he can get all the ambulatory men off the hill, and all the men that are too wounded to be moved can be captured by the Germans. He's been fighting for the past 6 months, and he knows that the Germans are at least going to give them aid, take care of them this summer.
At Harbor Freight, we do business differently from the other guys. We design and test our own tools and sell them directly to you. No middleman. And get ready, our biggest deals of the year drop Thanksgiving weekend.
When premium ingredients come together, memories are made forever. Fannie Mae, together is timeless.
Every single one of his sergeants is against it. They are ready to fight to the death of it. So Lamel says, okay, that's what we'll do. The next day, they do the exact same thing all over again. Somehow, they managed to hold on to this hill. That night, after 40 hours of straight combat, the Germans finally let up, and Lamel's able to radio down to the town and say that it's all quiet on the hill. And apparently, they stopped attacking at the town too. So the Rangers down there are finally able to come up and start helping carry all of these wounded men down from this hill. Worth noting, if you've ever carried a grown man on a litter, it is a motherfucker of a job, and that's if it's in good conditions, in daylight, on level ground. I can't imagine having to carry this many men in the dark down a hill covered in snow on a litter after 40 hours of straight. But the Rangers somehow managed to get it done, despite his hand being messed up, and that was the last man to move top that hill as he lets the other Rangers take it. During the 40 hours of combat, Lamel and 106 other Rangers were wounded, and 19 men were killed in action. 24 hours after the other Rangers take over, they hand it over to another Army unit that leaves them, and 9 days after that, Hill 400 is retaken by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge. When the Battle of the Bulge kicks off, Lamel is in a convoy heading back to Paris, hopefully he can save his finger, and because this major German offensive just kicks off, his convoy gets diverted, and they have to go hold a road in case the Germans show up there. Sure enough, they did. So now, Liddell, being the only officer there, has to lead this ragtag group of whoever the fuck soldiers into combat to fight the Germans. He does. They repel the Germans, but Liddell ends up getting burned and blown up and is now suffering from internal bleeding. So now he's in a field hospital getting treated for internal bleeding. While he's in there, General Eisenhower signs an order that any soldier that's been wounded at least twice and has earned a medal for valor gets 30 days of leave. Liddell qualifies if he absolutely wants to go home for a month. Understandably so. The problem is the doctor's not going to release him until he can submit a stool sample that shows that he's not still suffering from internal bleeding. So he does what absolutely anybody would do. He has one of his buddies shit in that cup for him, and then he goes home. Once he gets home, he has to undergo multiple surgeries to save the use of his hand. Once it's all said and done, the war's basically over. He's not getting shit back overseas. So then, Lyndon Liddell goes back home and he proceeds to do absolutely nothing, which completely justified. The guy probably needs a minute to decompress. So this goes on for a couple of months, and after a while, his mom has finally had enough of it. She's like, Leonard, go talk to that girl you were talking to before the war or something. Get out of my house. And Liddell is like, Mom, I don't have anything. I don't have a car. I have all the money I made during the war back then. You do this so you guys can get by and save anything for yourself. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. At which point, Mom, being a complete badass, is like, here you go, kid. I saved $1,500 out of the money you sent me. And he's able to go and buy a brand new car. So he shows up with his new wheels, impresses his old sweetheart Charlotte. They start dating again. He starts going to law school. He graduates law school. He marries Charlotte. A couple of years into being a lawyer, he gets in trouble because he wrestles with another lawyer inside the judge's office to settle the dispute. But, you know, everything's going great. It's fantastic. Ends up having a bunch of kids, running his own law firm. The poor kid that was literally catching fish and clams and selling them at restaurants during the Great Depression and grew up dirt poor is now a millionaire lawyer and he is living the American dream. And my favorite part of the story is he gets older in his late 50s, his 60s, his 70s. He gets the opportunity to go back to the places that he had battles in World War II. He gets to go back to Point du Hoc. He gets to go back to Hill 400. And when he's at Hill 400, he's kind of a celebrity and everybody wants to talk to him. And it's because the German historians and the German active duty military people there that are giving him the tour and everything want to know how many men did he have on top of that hill? And he's like, not many. Why? And the Germans showed him their books and translated it from their perspective. And up until this point, they had always been under the impression that the Americans had a massive force on top of Hill 400, and that's why the Germans weren't able to compete. Not only did Liddell's battle tactic work at the time, but it worked so well that he had them fooled for 40 years after the fact. Now, because Hill 400 and by extension the entire battle of the Brinskin Forest was such an unnecessary and bloody battle, it was deemed a huge embarrassment and failure by the upper-level leadership of the U.S. military. Because of that, a lot of the men that partook in that battle that did courageous, heroic, incredible things like Rommel, they never ended up getting the recognition they deserved because the upper-level leadership just didn't want to acknowledge this battle even happened. They just wanted to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. Despite that, over 60 years after the fact, Rommel would finally get awarded a Silver Star for his actions on Hill 400 in 2007. In the later years of his life, Leonard Rommel would end up getting a lot of attention for being the hero that he was during World War II. And his response to that was always, we weren't heroes, we were just mere breakers. Thanks for watching. This was Footy Channel for Lesson Merch, battlenutrition.com. Bye. Out. You know what? I'm just going to level with you guys. There's no way that you can research people like this and not feel like a giant bitch the entire time, okay? I feel like a big tough guy because I can do a lot of push-ups and I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years. And then you start reading about Bud Linnell, who got shot at D-Day and didn't just walk it off. He proceeded to climb a 100-foot cliff in 10 minutes after getting shot, while he's also continuing to get shot at by Nazis with machine guns. And then he goes and takes out an entire artillery battery by himself, saving tens of thousands of people. And that's just the beginning of this dude's story. Dudes were just built different back then. I don't even know. Regardless, I guess now at least we know the answer to who's the most important man at D-Day. Thanks for watching. There you go.
Our answer returned. I was sitting with Jack. Jack said, we had one clip. We had one clip. I said, where am I? He said, I lost it while we were running down that road. And I don't know where. I just had one clip in my pocket, one clip in my submachine gun. And I said, well, why can't you think of one? Think about it. practically got an unarmed guy upstairs with one or two clips.
For the ones who rise to every challenge, there's Granger. For the ones who get it done.
Throughout my life, I've pretty much been arrested pretty much every year for speeding. And it was no different in the teams. That's like, I got arrested in SUT. I come back from Hammond, get arrested again downtown. Drunk in Publix, being drunk and stupid. So the team gave me vacation to go to jail. So I took vacation, and I did 3 weeks in Aida County Jail as an active because the bailiffs would put me in handcuffs. I didn't even wait. They said, "You want us to call anybody?" I said, "Call somebody." The interview process and the selection that's like, why is the Navy SEAL coming? They don't want issues with me. I said, no. So I explained, I could lean into the truth. I'm like, I could ruin my whole life. I need a second chance. Now I'm doing shit. Guys who never been doing halos and shit. It was like a baptism.
Welcome to Mic Drop, the podcast where relevancy is irrelevant and we don't give a shit about your feelings. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He spent 7 years on active duty in SEAL teams, Team 7 Echo Platoon, to JTAC, the sniper, went to Yemen and Iraq, then coincidentally transferred over into the French Foreign Legion, into what we consider a French Guyana. First team over there, or ever been?
And I've heard some rumors it was an old school Master Chief from like the Nam era, but I don't know.
Yeah, so
definitely not recent times.
Well, shit. He does have a book coming out called The Hard Way, which is going to be in the spring time frame, so we're excited to see what that. And if ever there was a Spec Ops romance novel cover problem, it's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Taylor Kavanaugh.
Hey, Mike, thanks for that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I mean, if you should fit. I'm not the guy. What's the last full book that you read?
Last full book was Holiday's book on ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Holiday.
What's the biggest takeaway?
You know what? I didn't fully buy into it because I don't think ego is necessarily the worst thing. I mean, it's been dangerous in my life for sure, but I think it's this necessary evil that propels us. It's why, guys, you don't want to join the military. You want to be a team guy. There's that. Why is that? There's a little ego involved. So, but always good takeaways is as you get that success, you gotta check yourself, or you will fucking crash and burn. And that's exactly what happened to me.
Is that kind of the gist of his book? That's the root of all you like to go overboard with it?
I felt like I was a little heavy-handed. You know, got that with some girls.
What's the best vacation you've taken?
Man. You know what? I really liked Costa Rica.
Really?
With another team guy. His parents have a place down there. And man, I like the jungle, man.
Really?
Yeah, the jungle calls to me.
Well, I'll tell you, that makes the one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like that kind of humidity. Can't get away from it fast. What's the most memorable tradition?
Holidays were always really nice. My mom and aunts and grandmas. Thanksgiving, that Italian side, so the food was always good. I had very good, wholesome memories of Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, so.
That whole stretch.
Yeah.
Favorite childhood game you played? That's from my daughter, by the way. That's her question.
Childhood game. Man, dude, anything outside. Because, man, dude, I grew up in the late 80s, you know, or that was what was going on, man. We're riding bikes. We weren't in the house on the fucking iPad.
That's true. Times have changed. What's your normal morning routine on a day where you're not on a
process. That's a huge thing I promote. Is I get up at 2:15 in the morning. Every single morning, I don't take a day off, and I go right into a system of little coffee, little quiet, no phone, no inputs. And I go right into some Mike Tyson push-ups, just kind of raise that vibration, and then I go into some active visualization for about 15 minutes.
So all told, from the time you get up until your process is over, how long?
That takes about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I roll into just some work and normal stuff. I just need the quiet.
3:15. So I mean, by the time you're done with your morning shift, it's 3:30.
Yeah, I eat something light, quit burning carbs, 'cause I try to be in the gym by like 6.
And then when does your day start? Like work-wise?
Well, at the regiment, it's a little bit different. I'm in the Foreign Legion, but I'm still getting up earlier than everybody, working out in the bathroom and stuff. But Appel call, the Foreign Legion, is at 5:36. So you're mustering up, yeah, you're mustering up and you're lined up at 6.
I mean, we're going to dive first into all that. But, all right, so kind of going into your childhood growing up, you're born in Boston, but you're from St. Louis.
Yeah, I was born in like Beverly, Mass, but kind of Gloucester area is where my family's from. And then my pops was in the Marine Corps. So he was, there was an old Chinook base in like Tustin area, Orange. So we lived on that Marine base in the late 80s. And I think it's condos now. And yeah, so that brought us, and then he got out, 6 in and out. We stayed in the city.
How old were you from Boston to St. Louis?
Man, I mean, all my kindergarten through high school, I was in St. Louis.
Are you Irish and Italian?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like the Boston, New York.
Yeah.
An internal conflict. So growing up in San Diego, I mean, I was out there in '97. That was when I first got out there, and holy shit, a lot has changed since then. But what was it like growing up there?
Man, it was cool because I grew up right near the stadium, little Jack Murphy Stadium up on the hill, and we used to ride our bikes down to Mission Valley, and it was just riding jumps and stuff. There was no condos; they were just starting to build. There was like a little strip mall. It was wild because you could go into crawdad fishing in the canyons and shit. It was just a little bit more spread out. It was great.
Do you have siblings and parents still work together all the time?
No, they had a tumultuous relationship. My dad, he'd be first admitted having some struggles with alcohol and things like that, and it was some explosive things. So in and out, kind of. But they were married off and on for about 16 years, and then it kind of broke off later. And I have a younger sister.
Okay, so just you and her.
Yep.
Did you play any sports growing up?
I did. We were sports were the thing year round. So growing up, it was soccer, swimming. Then I got into American football and baseball. And then into high school, I just cut into lacrosse and football.
Really? I didn't realize. I mean, lacrosse, where I grew up, didn't exist. It probably still doesn't. Chuck soccer team.
Yeah.
Was lacrosse and is lacrosse big in Southern California?
No, you're from Iowa, right? You grew up, and yeah, they're just wrestling out there.
Wrestling and football, but I think wrestling for sure is the biggest.
Yeah. Well, I went to Poway High School, and wrestling was what it was at that high school. But lacrosse was the first year that it started to kind of get big and get formalized. So
I still don't get it as a sport.
Man, it's fucking violent. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's actually a great spectator sport too. If you kind of it's fluid.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why it's not more popular.
It's a good question. I don't know. Yeah.
Football just kind of has everything.
Damn straight.
Now, did you play football? You said you played.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What did you play?
Outside linebacker.
Were you like in high school? Were you a bigger guy? Or?
Yeah, I was always about 200, about the same.
In high school?
Yeah.
Jesus. Were you just fucking leveling people in football?
And I like that. They used to call me Hammer, bro. Yeah.
What are the two key components for canine success? That's effective training and proper nutrition. Fueled by Team Dog brings those two components to your family and best friend. The perfect nutritional balance that results in a higher mental acuity, energy, overall vitality, and even an improved
Captain Navy Captain. But I was going in the military. I knew I wanted to be a Navy SEAL from the time I was 7.
Well, what was the catalyst for that?
I remember the year it happened. I was 7 years old. It was 1992 in October. And I'm standing on this hill with my dad, looking into the bay from Point Loma. And I saw glow lights in the bay. And that's what it was. And he told me there's SEALs training in the bay. I know now as SQT students, you know. But from that moment on, it was, I mean, I could not get enough information. Men with green faces. I was in Blockbuster getting the VHS tapes, all that Vietnam era commando stuff really was like, I couldn't get enough.
Did you ever go watch any of the July 4th guys growing up there?
We used to just do the aviation kind of Miramar.
I mean, I guess I don't know what they started. I mean, I remember being part of it in the late 90s, but on the 4th of July, the SEALs would always do these big demonstrations. You fucking do those fast.
Really? Yeah.
And then, like, we would dive. One of the years I was one of the divers, and pretty cool because, like, you're going to Glorieta Bay on Draggers, right? And you go in before everybody gets there, kind of thing, or you know, while people are kind of funneling in. We would dive in and just hang out in like 4 feet of water, like with this huge crowd. Had no idea we were there, and then all of a sudden, like in the middle of a demo, like
that's what's
shit's
up.
blowing up, like we just fucking come up out of the water. It would be like, what the fuck?
That's some swag points.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, and fast rope in and jumping in, and you know, fucking ribs coming in with blanks, lighting the beach up. It was pretty awesome, honestly. They stopped doing it. Not, I think right after 9/11 for security concerns, they didn't want people, you know, coming up because that'd be a juicy fucking target, a bunch of team guys without real weapons, without loaded real weapons. But anyway, so all right, so back to that catalyst. Was there a conflict with deciding whether or not you wanted to be a SEAL or play football, or was that kind of the goal, was to go to the academy, play sports, and be a SEAL?
It was just assumed college was the thing. It was, I looked at it as an extension of high school, and I lacked self-awareness on a massive scale. Like Iraq was kicking off and shit at this time, right? I was getting out of the 3, and so I didn't even view the military as an option. It was college. I mean, that's all it was. You know, so the high school I went to in Poway, 99% of the kids went to college after that. You know, so it was not really on my radar. I was like, okay, after.
So you get rolled up with fucking fights, you get booted from high school. Where did you go after?
I graduated from the high school next to me, Rancho Bernardo, but I wasn't allowed to play senior year lacrosse. That's the rule.
Oh, okay. Did you play football?
No, because I finished my senior year of football.
Oh,
and then
so eligible.
Next day, yeah.
All right, so you graduated from Rancho Bernardo, then what?
So I was kind of grabbing for straws. Small Division III school. I was like, hey, you can two-sport here. It's in Orange County. In Chapman University. Went up there, failed out first semester. I mean, and we got in a huge car accident that 4th of July weekend coming back from the river, and we rolled a lifted Tundra. And I ejected out of one of the windows on the freeway, and
no seatbelt lights.
No, yeah, and I just ejected out one of the windows, and I woke up in the desert, and with a paramedic on me, and I had dislocated my hip, cracked my ribs, but I walked out of the fucking hospital 3 days later. They put my hip back in and all that.
Did anybody die?
No, but two of the guys in had to get all skin graft because they had seatbelts on, but they re-rolled the fuck out of that thing. Yeah, so I wasn't setting myself up for success going into college, and then I came back, went to some junior colleges, tried to get back, and then I started doing drugs, selling drugs, doing all the wrong stuff, and then I just kind of had a moment of clarity, and then I moved back to Boston.
So the time frame, this is what, like 04, 05?
Exactly, it was 04. Yeah.
What drugs were you doing and selling?
Man, it was like ecstasy at the time, you know, and just living wrong, smoking weed, taking muscle relaxers, and completely lost, no direction. And finally I called my dad and said, hey, I gotta get out of here. I just woke up one morning. It was October 11, 2004. It was raining. I remember this homeless guy, something this homeless guy had said to me one time. He said, hey, you know what rain means? Change. Maybe he was asking me for fucking change, you know, I thought about it later, but then that just rang true to me. I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I just popped chalks and then moved into the basement of my aunt and uncle's house in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Did were you working?
So I immediately got there, started working landscaping, and reset. Then started training Muay Thai, then started going to the gym, then started going to junior college, and then just blasted out great grades for like a year and a half, and got my credits back up, and then transferred back to University of California, Santa Cruz.
Okay. Did you finish there?
I did. I got a degree in politics and international relations from UC Santa Cruz.
Shit.
Yeah.
Could you, or did you play any sports there?
Man, no, I probably could have, but I started doing jujitsu and just got a subluxation of the patella, and it just destroyed my knee. Started taking painkillers, and then that whole period and all the discipline I had gained when I was back east, isolated, separated, all went away. And so I was arrested probably 8 or 9 times during that period of college when I was graduating. And so I had a mountain of administration to get hurdles to get into the military.
What were they arrested for?
It was being a knucklehead. It was drunk in public, disturbing the peace, fucking DUI, driving on a suspended, possession. It was all these small little things just stacked up.
So once you graduated, at that point, were you still helping on combat team? Was that always
100%? Yeah, but it was. Looking back, the two things don't match up, right? Yeah.
So you walk into a recruiter, where you're like, motherfucker, you got your work cut out for you.
I walked into this is why I wanted to be a SEAL, but I was terrified of hate screen. That was because I grew up in San Diego. I knew all-American wrestlers and shit. Nobody made it, and everybody was scraping barnacles in the Navy. And so I was like real scared, real terrified. So I went into the Marine recruiter first. I was like, don't get me gun in my knee. Charlie Mike, he's like, dude, you're on probation. And he's like, you have pending court cases. And I was like, oh, that's a thing? We can't just like sweep that under the rug? And that's when I had this moment where I go, oh, this is like a real life. I have to take care of this. So I ended up having to get a lawyer, get a judge, and I went to jail for 4 months in Santa Cruz County right when I graduated to commute my probation. He was like 180 days in jail. I was like, okay. But I ended up doing 120 surgery.
Yeah. How was that?
Man, dude, I'll tell you what. It's which is actually kind of, I didn't see the sun for 4 months because you don't get yard time and stuff. We were just lockdown facility. So it's sad, man, what drugs and alcohol, amphetamines specifically do to people's lives. And I was having to, small story in there, I had asked for a volunteer. And I go, okay, because if you volunteer, then the guards would let you go eat in their chow hall. They give you like a hamburger or something, right? So I was always volunteering. And we go in and I have to clean this guy, had painted shit all over this cell. And I goes, he's yelling about how gangster he is, he stole a car and this and that. And the guy I'm working with is just getting pissed because he's gonna have to clean a lip. He looks at the guy, bangs on the glass, he goes, hey motherfucker, who Peyton ain't gangster? I remember thinking, I'm like, man, I've made some mistakes. What am I doing here?
I mean, was it scary being there in terms of like people fucking with you? Or?
It was fine. I mean, it's like anywhere else. As long as you just set the tone, you're good. I had a couple little issues, but everybody was kind of on their own program. If you get on that good program, I was just doing push-ups and dips and just kind of like, and I volunteered to work for the jail, so I was gone 8 hours in the day doing jail laundry, and I could just write and read and kind of be about myself. It was actually right when Obama got, so you were getting that right at that same time. I remember sitting there when it happened. I was in jail laundry that day. He got elected.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So all right, so you spent 4 months in jail. Once you got out, then did you go back to the Marine recruiter?
I went right back to the Marine officer recruiter. I was shooting for the stars, and they said, okay, we got to take pictures of your tattoos. And I didn't have my arms and stuff. Really, I had a little bit on the shoulders, but my whole back and some of my legs. And they took pictures, and they sent it up to some guy. He came back, and he was like, no, not only no, you can't, we won't even take you into any Marine Corps. They put me on a hold nationwide. I couldn't even enlist. So I was like, okay, well, that Army will take me. I'll go Army or some special program. they did a background check on me and they said, no way, you can't even enlist. That's when I was like, oh shit, well, what am I gonna do? Started kind of seeing the French Foreign Legion. That's where that started to come on my radar. But I had student loans with my mom and co-signed. I couldn't just pop chalks. So I licked my wounds for about a day, and then that higher consciousness or whatever came in and he said, go to the Navy recruiter, write down what you have. It wasn't anything bad. All the dispositions were clear. It was just misdemeanors, but it was a lot of them. And I strategically, kind of put the guy said, we can work with this, but you can be a SEAL if you pass all this shit, or turd wrangler. There's no like in between jobs you could do. Yeah.
Man, that's fucking wild. Well, so I mean, as a 7-year-old, the SEAL team being kind of a big dream. Why did that end up being the last choice? What you got?
Fear. Yeah, I didn't think I could make it because the running and stuff. I'm not a good runner, and coming out of jail, I was like 230, and so I tried to do a run and I couldn't even make a half mile. And I was like, man, this is gonna be a mountain to climb up. And I was just really scared that I wasn't gonna fucking make it. It was hard as shit, and it was.
All right, so you go to the Navy, they end up taking you.
Yeah, but it was not just like, hey, come in. I had to get a lot of waivers, and so I started in this. MEPS was stressful, to say the least. I had a lot of holes in my game. Strategic answers, not saying lie, but strategic answering. And then I could start taking that PST, getting racked on that. And so I took it every week for 9 months. I would go down to and then I started training at the Naval Amphibious Base with the boat crew there with the retired lieutenant commander, and then an active duty senior chief. And that was massive, running in the mountain. I was puking every day, but I lost 40 pounds in like 6 weeks, just crushing it. And I just stayed going every day. And then my score started to get elevated. The next thing I know, I'm like racked at the top. 9 months later, I get my contract. Yeah.
How old are you at this time?
So I'm 23. So I was turned 24, like pretty much the day they gave me my SEAL Challenge contract to go to boot camp on that SEAL contract.
So you go in. At that time, was boot camp all SEAL candidates?
That was, yeah. So exactly, we had 100 guys that were just all on that SEAL Challenge contract.
I mean, what was that like? Because when I came in, it wasn't that way. It was like there were of every division there was a handful of people that that had their SEAL contracts. Everybody else, it was like most of the fucking division you were with were going to do fucking who knows what. So obviously that's all you have to compare it to. But what was that like being a group of all dudes going?
Man, it was great.
Yeah.
We had a good group. Just to kind of give 9 guys made it out of that 100, and 5 of those guys are still operating at the tip.
Bathfitter does showers? That's right. We offer a wide selection of beautiful and functional showers. We can even convert your bath into a shower.
From what I saw, and I'm sure it's happened to guys, even if you are totally on the other end of that political aspect where they're like, we're out for you, if you perform well enough, you become undeniable. Either the one or the 2 man in the door. I was it, assaulted, but I shot hard. I was good at CQC. This guy. I checked into the squadron. Everybody was good. Like, he didn't perform. Then I got a phone call from my next team guy. He's like, hey, job opportunity, let's look at it. Are you here for pictures? I'm like, I don't know what that is. He's like, it's the president. You're here to assassinate the president. And then I look back, and there's a 20-year-old kid with a pistol right at my forehead, and I can hear him spraying a magazine shit. And his fingers on the trigger. And I was just like, whoa.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's full of honor and pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. Spent 17 years between active duty and reserve time as a rescue Navy SEAL. He spent time in Team 5, the infamous Team 6, and the Reserve Team 17. Did 4 deployments and a number of special missions, which we're going to get balls deep into. Did 10 years as a contractor with some super secret squirrel shit that we can't mention.